Support Celtic Warrior workouts and give me a subscribe. Oh, and also support WrestleTalk and give them a subscribe.
Support WrestleTalk!
AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan are forming a super faction. It could potentially be like when Seth Rollins just looked over to Buddy Murphy and said, "Hey mate, do you want to punch this guy in the dick?" I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to the WrestleTalk review show, where we're going to look at the week in wrestling and the news and the biggest stories, chief of which is some kind of very fresh news as we're recording this. It came from yesterday's, or this morning's rather, Wrestling Observer newsletter from Dave Meltzer, and that is answering the question that we posed on yesterday's AEW review podcast: who's the leader of the Dark Order? What's the deal with Marty Scurll? And is there going to be some big working relationship between AEW, ROH and New Japan? It appears maybe.
Yeah, so according to Meltzer, because Scurll re-signed with ROH, that was announced over the weekend, because it was on our news episode on Monday, and it's now been reported that the original plan for Scurll, his original offer, was that he was going to debut for AEW in December of last year. He was going to be on the final Dynamite episode, which now when you look back at it, you're like, that makes so much sense. Because they really were like, it's going to be a big show. We're going to have this big killer angle to end off the show. And what they ended off with was the Dark Order beating down the Elite to not critical acclaim. What's the opposite of critical acclaim?
They missed the mark, didn't they?
They missed
like
the
those
punches.
Yeah. They missed 100% of the shots they took.
But it now turns out, apparently, reportedly, it was going to be Scurll's debut, which would have been an actual really hot angle to end the year off with.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Would it have worked? Because like the Dark Order, I felt needed still like a good 2 months of rebuilding before they were put in that main event invasion angle.
But with Scurll there,
yeah.
Like Scurll would have completely tipped it over the edge, I think. I think people still would have been like, Dark Order. But when you have that Scurll reveal at the end, people aren't going to talk about Dark Order.
They'll talk about Scurll.
Scurll, yeah.
Yeah, so does that mean it was always going to be a successful thing? And you gotta question the wisdom of when it became apparent Scurll wasn't going to do that because he re-signed with Ring of Honor for what Meltzer is saying is the biggest contract in company history.
Yeah, the most lucrative deal.
ROH are spenny right now.
They're
spenny those bucks.
Re-signed Bandido over the weekend as well.
Another hugely in-demand wrestler. And because a lot of these guys signed for 1-year deals at the start of last year.
Yeah, Roosh is another one who signed for a 1-year deal, so I'd imagine they're looking to tie him down as well. PCO, I think, is there until February.
Matt Taven.
They
got a huge one this year.
So last year.
Sorry, I'm just going to cough.
No, you said this year.
Yes.
So last year, he signed in the summer of last year for a deal that is reportedly way bigger than any of the top stars in NXT. Like, think about that for a second. That is a WWE brand who are paying their talent less than ROH are looking to do because ROH are really spending to keep hold of this talent.
Yeah, well, let's find out the actual... This is a direct quote from The Observer. Essentially, Scurll is getting WWE main roster money guaranteed for maybe 40 dates a year.
Whoa, 40 dates a year,
and
guaranteed.
He can work other places as well.
All right, so you're Marty Scurll. You're presented with two options. Do you want to be the leader of this group that's not getting over? Or do you want the biggest main roster deal for 40 dates a year that's guaranteed? That's not a downside deal.
Yeah.
That's guaranteed money.
When I heard that Scurll was re-signing with ROH on Sunday, I think it broke, I was like, wow, man, they must have offered him... I cannot picture what they could have offered him to make him not go and be with his buddies, the Elite. Because it's not all about the money sometimes. Sometimes you just want to be with your creative best friends.
And sometimes there are wrestlers who do see WWE as the end goal.
Exactly. So then it came out that not only is he getting this main roster money, which, as we know from other reports at the moment, is like $500, like $500,000 a year at least.
Yeah.
This is a multi-year contract. Those people work, I don't know, 180, 200 dates a year?
I mean, yeah, well, Seth Rollins said that one of the reasons John Moxley left is because he couldn't hack the rigorous schedule because you end up working like 300 plus dates throughout the year.
This is 40. This is, at the extremes, less than a sixth of the dates a year.
Yeah.
That's not to say he won't be working as much, because the other big part of this, and I think is probably going to be the most appealing thing to someone with Scurll's mind.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is that he is now head booker. There were reports that he was co-booker with Delirious. Delirious has been booking that promotion since 2010. So there is that you've only got, unless you're Gado, you've only got so many ideas in the tank.
And that's because Gado has one idea that he spreads over 10 years.
Yes. And it's also, okay, I've done that idea with Tanahashi. It's a Okada now. And he does it like that.
That'll do me for another 4 years now.
Now, Jay White, come over here. But the idea is, Scurll is now the head booker. Delirious is going to be more the execution TV production arm of stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's going to make Scurll's ideas and creative vision happen. So he's got his own toy box.
Yeah, completely. And it's a cool toy box as well, because there's a lot of great talent in ROH. Shane Taylor, Joe Hendry, Roosh, Matt Taven, the Villain Enterprise. There's like loads of it. PCO is your bloody world champion at the moment. There's a huge pool of talent that you can work with there. That I think someone like Marty Scurll, as you said, has got such a good creative mind that will really relish in the challenge.
What's bizarre for me though is this is a lot of responsibility. And that you are the head booker of a wrestling promotion. To my knowledge, Scurll hasn't done that before.
I'd imagine he has been involved in creative, but has not been the head booker.
There is a very different thing for pitching ideas and being involved in creative for your character, which wrestlers tend to be really into, versus booking other people's characters.
I am in this position. I often pitch you ideas, but I don't want to be sat in your shoes where you do all the actual business stuff side of things.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
So, I mean, it's a gamble. It's very exciting, but let's not make any mistakes about it. This is a huge gamble by Ring of Honor. And, to the extent where he said, let's put on a free show for everyone. They did it over the weekend. It was very well received. That's a good start. But, is it 3 months of ideas that he's got? Or is he more akin to a Gado, where he's got 5 years of storylines he's been sitting on?
We're now also in a world where all of the elite are in head booker positions effectively. But you're right, it's not just that he's signed for this amazing money deal for 40 odd days and he's now the head booker of this promotion. The really interesting thing for me in this is that he is a liaison between ROH and New Japan, which is a relationship that didn't have the greatest 2019. I think after the Madison Square Garden show, which was
Mega Ran,
which was essentially, it was 50% a great show, 50% not a great show, and the 50% that was a great show was all the New Japan stuff, and all the ROH stuff, with the exception of their title match,
the three-way.
The ladder match was awesome. But they did the Enzo and Cass run-in, which was all ROH's idea.
Didn't tell New Japan about that.
Yeah, which, so Tama Tonga was very upset about that. So their relationship was very soured throughout 2019. And you can see that because there's no ROH presence at New Japan shows. There was very little New Japan presence in Ring of Honor shows. And, Wrestle Kingdom this year didn't have any ROH. They usually have an ROH title match. Yeah. Nothing. Absolutely no presence whatsoever. But New Japan reportedly love Marty because Marty's been there for a number of years now. So I think he is going to be a great liaison between those two brands and rebuild that relationship again.
Totally. And it seems to already be underway because a couple of weeks after this deal seems to have happened, after Meltzer was saying, look, this relationship is a bit standoffish between New Japan and ROH right now. New Japan aren't sending talent over there. And then this week or last week, we've got Jay White being confirmed for the next Ring of Honor show. It seems like they're starting to send over talent again. And that comes just a few weeks after Marty has started this role again. So it's not just that, though. This is the really exciting bit
part of this.
So when negotiations were going on between Scurll and ROH, we were told it may not exclude him from AEW, although others have said the deal will exclude him from AEW and WWE.
Yeah.
This is him as a performer, where he can wrestle. Currently, he can wrestle a lot of other places. New Japan, he's got the program with NWA and Nick Aldis going, which is going to sort of feature a bit on Ring of Honor television, it seems.
That's it, yeah. So the next NWA pay-per-view they're doing an NWA versus ROH match and building that as like an interpromotional thing. So it's interesting because Meltzer said when the deal was signed that there was... He was allowed to work anywhere, but there was a question mark over a certain promotion. We all figured that certain promotion was AEW. So it's very interesting that there is some people saying that he can work there and others saying, no, it's everywhere but AEW and WWE.
Well, that might be because they're working on the AEW thing. Because this goes on to say, that's Scurll as a performer, but Scurll is now a back office position where he's this liaison person. One of those key relationships he's apparently going to try and develop, and it makes total sense, is with AEW. That's where all his friends are. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Bucks are like, and the Elite are generally like, actually, Marty, don't come here.
Yeah, take that deal.
You take that Ring of Honor deal, because then that's a way for us to get another foot in the door with New Japan. They're smart guys.
Oh, yeah.
They must know the best thing for business is for everything that's not WWE to work together.
Completely.
And then you can start building it up from there.
Don't be your own island.
Yeah. So to work as a liaison to New Japan, the NWA, and other organizations, including AEW, which Ring of Honor will try and get a working relationship with. Meltzer goes on to say that might be difficult because I don't know what AEW has to gain at this time from an ROH relationship. But you never know, Scurll's got a lot of friends in AEW, so he could be the guy to open up communications and boundaries. What is in it for for AEW? Of course, ROH gets that notoriety.
It's a huge coup for ROH.
Talent exchange, you can get those guys who were selling out ROH shows 2 years ago back.
Yeah, I mean, that Madison Square Garden show, to go back to that again, those tickets, that was sold out on not just New Japan, it was sold out on the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody.
And a card.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it was New Japan and the Elite were essentially, they sold out that building. And then the Elite left, so ROH didn't have that star power anymore. And I think that has then felt throughout 2019, where you've seen their attendance fall with the loss of Cody and the Bucks and everyone else. So getting them back and getting them back onto ROH shows can only mean those ticket sales can rise again.
Huge positives to ROH. So yeah, Meltzer asks, what's in it for AEW then? I think the answer is quite clear. AEW get a house show touring infrastructure where they can develop talent. And ROH, this is not a slight. It might come across as a slight, but no one says it about NXT. ROH can be AEW's official developmental promotion.
That's exactly it, yeah.
There's no harm in taking, if you've got WWE, AEW third place in the North American market, if you're Ring of Honor, that's better than, at the moment, New Japan might get in there and become the third promotion in, or NWA or MLB. There are a lot of other moving parts.
MLW.
MLW.
Not Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball. I mean, it's very competitive out there. Sleep. If you ask WWE, the main competitor is sleep. That's what Vince McMahon will also corroborate. So yeah, I think that, look, Ring of Honor, I love Ring of Honor. I am a Ring of Honor fanboy. That was the promotion I fell in love with when I first started getting into that style of wrestling. And the 2010 to 2011-12 Jim Cornette era is one of my all-time favorite bits in wrestling. Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, El Generico, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole coming up through the ranks. But they have always been the promotion where people make their names and then they go somewhere else.
ROH has been the feeder system for NXT, effectively.
Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Nigel McGuinness, everyone, it feels like, has come through ROH.
Austin Aries,
yeah. Tyler Black.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins.
Yeah, completely.
It's very rare, you get a Dean Ambrose or a Roman Reigns. Those people actually have not come through that system, but it's largely all ROH guys up until about 2016, 17, 16,
Yeah.
17. So it's always been a feeder promotion, really. Why not just lean into that and make that your strength? We are AEW's NXT.
Yeah. And from an AEW perspective as well, you made this point earlier, because ROH is now rebuilding that connection with New Japan through Marty. AEW quite clearly want to have that relationship as well. What better way to get into that relationship by getting into bed with ROH? So you then essentially you just sort of get into the system as well. Yeah. And we've talked about it many times in the show. They would love to work with New Japan. That was the plan from day one. Was that we're going to work in conjunction with one another, but New Japan were not happy with them leaving and starting their own promotion. So if AEW can get back into the good books with New Japan through ROH, that's a huge deal for AEW. That's what they want.
Yeah, and so it's the potential of having a developmental system where they can send guys like the Private Party who are fantastic. But, they are green and they do get exposed sometimes. I don't know what Wardlow's like, but those you can give people more in-ring time. Yeah. Jungle Boy, they're all great. But
they're only wrestling once a week.
Yeah, wrestling more is not going to hurt them. Well, it actually could injure them. But, at the moment, they're just doing it with indie bookings. You could bring that to ROH and make it a lot more, sort of considered. So you've got those two bits, obviously the New Japan house shows as well.
Yeah.
AEW don't have a live events touring market right now. There is no way for them to sort of test out ideas loosely. There's no bit for them to work out new gimmicks in front of the live crowds before they bring them to television. And as we've seen with the Nightmare Collective, the Dark Order stuff, Luther, you could test that stuff IRL before you commit to putting it on television. I think that's what I would do. I think that's hugely important.
It's always worth remembering. Kane, before he debuted in 98, was on the house show circuits for a few months beforehand, and they were testing out variations of the costume. At one point, he had a cape, and that was going to be, because Vince apparently wanted him to have a cape. He was going to have a cape for the whole run. So they tried it on the house shows, it didn't get over, and they were like, do you know what? Drop the cape.
Yeah.
And so then when he debuted at Bad Blood, you're like, oh, cool. He looks amazing. We've figured this all out because we've been testing this out for a few months. The house show circuit thing is really great. I as well think with AEW, if you want to really differentiate yourself from WWE, why not be? We are this billion-dollar company with all of this money and infrastructure. And we've got this TV deal on TNT, but we're going to do the complete opposite of WWE, where WWE is an island unto themselves. You work here, you work only here. Even if you are a independent contractor, you can only work here. But with AEW, you could be like, no, you are signed here, but if you want to go work here, you go work here, you go work here, you go work here. We'll send talent to you, you send talent to us, and we'll just be this amazing home of the best wrestling in North America and around the world.
It is the NWA.
Yeah,
that's what you want to be.
They can set up the new, and then
they bring back the territories.
Yeah, you can work with the NWA.
Yeah,
go back and work with Power and stuff like that. I think that's a really strong position for AEW to be. It's a real babyface move as well for in the wrestling community to be this open door where you can come in, you can go out, and you can work everywhere. I think it'd be a really smart business move. It's whether Tony Khan wants to do it, because I think he feels quite protective of the AEW brand. So I don't know whether he'd be on board with it, but I think it's a really smart business move, personally.
Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Fantasy book some ROH AEW feuds. We've done a lot of AEW versus New Japan potential matchups, mainly dominated by, it was Suzuki Moxley before, but now it's like Ishii. Who was with Ishii, Orange Cassidy. No, it's Orange Cassidy versus
Minoru Suzuki, probably. Toriano.
Toriano. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
I think there's a lot of that. Also, if it gets Joe Hendry onto TNT,
yes, please.
Joe Hendry.
So let us know your sort of picks and what you think if it will happen. It feels like everything's coalescing in a good way at the moment. The mechanisms behind the scenes seem to be putting the train in one direction.
Yeah.
And also, press the thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe. And let's get into the... It's that time. It's ratings time.
Is that your jingle for it now? It's ratings time. It's time. It's time. It's ratings time.
Are there any other sort of ratings? And any songs have the word ratings in that we can rip off here?
I'm sure people will let us know in the comments.
Or maybe we'll just go, war. Da, 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 da. What is it good for? Ratings.
Advertisers.
Yeah. So AEW versus NXT. After, just as a recap of the story so far, AEW, October 2nd, trounced NXT for 7 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Doing really good. Then the whole Survivor Series thing happened. Arguably, WWE hot-shotted NXT, put a lot of main roster talent on that show, did a fantastic job putting over NXT and Keith Lee and Shayna Baszler on Survivor Series.
Yep.
And that worked. They had a very healthy bump, and they were beating NXT on and off again until through to Christmas. Something happened when the new year changed. NXT had essentially a taped awards show as the first episode of this year. AEW went in hot. They missed Christmas Day, but then they went in hot for this. And it seems to have worked because AEW has been over 900,000 viewers for the first 3 weeks of this year.
Yep.
And that hasn't happened since the first 3 episodes of AEW TV. They would dip into about 800.
That's exactly it, yeah.
So we've now got a really solid base of AEW viewers, and it's pretty much level. And that's fantastic news.
Yeah, you said it yourself before we came on. They have now seemed to have found their consistent audience, this audience that are tuning in. I said on yesterday's show, I would be really surprised if AEW won the ratings war this week, because I felt like when I was watching the show, I was like, this feels like if I was a casual wrestling fan, I'd be changing the channel to NXT and seeing what's going on here, because I wasn't. After the Nightmare Collective thing, I think I was almost like... there was stuff I was excited for, but I was like, I'm just going to flip over and just see what's going on and see if that will hook me in, and then maybe I'll flip back. That appears not to have happened. We don't have the quarter-hour breakdowns. They've not been available just yet. That's what I was just searching for while you were doing your monologue. But it seems like that AEW now have this core audience that are sticking around no matter what Brandy Rhodes does on TV.
940,000 viewers was what AEW got this week. I think it was like 950 the week before.
Yeah, I'm just going to see 960. If I can get a comparison.
So they are slightly dropping, but it's still very healthy.
It's a minor drop.
Yeah.
So last week was 947,000. So it really is it's a real minor drop.
Yeah.
But NXT also dropped this week because they went from 721,000 last week to 700,000 this week. Although, as Brian Alvarez pointed out on Twitter, it would have been 700,001, but Baron Corbin watched AEW.
Do we need a different thing? You've been Daved, but what does Brian get? Alvarez. It's like Pillmanized, but you've been Alvarez. So almost 250,000 people more watched AEW than NXT.
That's big, man. That's big.
It is big. I think, as we approach Revolution, because this is in the middle part of the pay-per-view cycle, and as we saw with Full Gear, the pay-per-view did draw up viewership for AEW.
And the week after as well.
Bold prediction. I reckon that go-home show... You know what? The week before, the Cody Wardlow steel cage. Have you seen the poster for it?
No, I haven't.
They've gone full, Star Wars, loads of... It's not a match graphic. It's not like Cody Wardlow.
Okay,
it is Cody's head in the background, Wardlow at the front, MJF's evil presence lurking behind. Yeah, well, I criticize... It's awesome, right?
It's so good. That was on... They showed that on TV, actually. Yeah, that's really good.
So there was the... WWE's graphics department have just been phoning it in for years now. It's just, here's this stock image that doesn't really look like them, and this one.
I think Bobby Roode still got the mustache.
Yeah, but AEW really, I love AEW's graphics department. I think they're doing a real nice job with it. But I reckon that episode, which is the...
February 18th. February 19th, sorry.
So that's 2 episodes before the pay-per-view. We'll do over 1 million. And then they might maintain over 1 million for the next 3 weeks around Revolution.
And then maybe the week after Revolution goes back down to that sort of 900,000, maybe then goes down to 800,000 and picks back up in the run-up to Double or Nothing 2.
Well, let's not overlook the WrestleMania factor, because a rising tide raises all ships, and mainstream interest in wrestling is always highest February, March time. in the build-up to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Maybe that will increase AEW's viewership. Maybe people will be like, they're more open to, it's this time of year, they're more open to wrestling. Oh, what's this show?
Yeah, maybe.
I think TNT should do a lot of AEW advertising.
Oh, yeah.
On around Raw and SmackDown shows.
Yeah, no, completely. So yeah, really good week for AEW and for NXT. Like 700,000 is nothing to be sniffed at. Like it's still a good number. And as you said, that's like what combined together 1 point. I'm not very bad at maths.
You got this, man.
1.6.
Yeah,
1.6 million. 1.64 million people. I did get a B at GCSE, but my maths teacher was stunned when I got it. He told me flat to my face, like, I'll be surprised if you get a D. And I got that B.
Take that, mate.
And I was like, take that, Mr. Adams.
Yeah.
I got a B.
Mr. Adams. Add 'em up.
That's like an old Simpsons joke. So that is the ratings week. Do you want to jump into our news story picks of the week?
Yeah, so these are stories that we have covered or haven't got a chance to cover that we just, like me and Luke have picked one each. We just want to dive into it a little bit more.
Well, yeah, because particularly the one that I've picked is because there is an update on it. So over the weekend, Tessa Blanchard put out a tweet that said women should like lift each other up, or cool things happen when women work together. And a lot of female wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers, took umbrage with this statement because there have been lots of stories over the years that Tessa Blanchard is not the nicest person. Reportedly, I want to say this now. Reportedly,
it's very overwhelmingly reported.
But Sean Ross Sapp, like I'm going to put this.
I think allegedly as well. We can use allegedly because it's people saying it, not report. Like these are direct sources.
Yeah, so allegedly, that's much better. But Sean Ross Sapp, I'm going to put this one out on Front Street first. When he was tweeting about this story, he said, "I've heard all of these stories before, but Tessa has been working very hard to improve herself as a person, and reportedly, she's a much nicer person now than she was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when these sort of incidents allegedly happened."
People change.
People change, exactly. People grow. Because she put that out, and Alison Kay, who wrestled in Impact as Sienna, tweeted out that she called someone the N-word at a show in Japan, which I believe was La Rosa Negra. La Rosa Negra herself confirmed that story and said, "I'm glad that this has come out."
Her name is dangerously close, though.
Yeah, I think it was her anyway that said that out. And we also had Chelsea Green, who was in Impact as Laurel Van Ness, came out to say it.
Currently in NXT.
Yep. Shanna from AEW came out and said stories. Renee Michelle came out and said stories. Like, a lot of people came out to say, here is my Tessa Blanchard story.
And that's quite worrying when it gets to essentially bipartisan support, you would say. It's not just, like if all of the WWE wrestlers were saying it, you'd be like, that's a bit weird. Tessa didn't go there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a coordinated effort to bury her. But no, this is from indie wrestlers, AEW,
across the board.
WWE.
It was La Rosa Negra, because the story was, it was Sienna, Alison Kay said that she spat in her face backstage at a show and called her the N-word, which is not cool.
Tessa Blanchard used to go out with Ricochet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that explained, like, that justifies anything.
I mean, Twitter did. Twitter made that argument a lot.
It's essentially the Hulk Hogan, some of my best friends.
Some of my best friends are superheroes.
So my former boyfriends are superheroes. Pew pew!
But so these stories came out. Tessa said that she wasn't going to make a statement on this. She said she's not going to even talk about these allegations because they're ridiculous. Bearing in mind as well, this was the day before her big Impact World Championship match with Sami Callihan, which, spoilers for Hard to Kill if you still haven't caught up with it yet, she won. Tessa Blanchard is the current Impact World Champion, which Booker T said is the dumbest thing to happen in wrestling history. WWE.
Booker T.
Mae Young gave birth to a hand.
Yes.
That is the dumbest thing to have happened. Regardless. So she said she wasn't going to address it. She did actually put a bit of spotlight on it, because I think she replied to Chelsea Green saying that I've helped you up. I've had a lot of ups and downs. across the years. But she has now made an official statement on this subject. So I've actually hadn't really had a chance to really read this yet. So let's read this together. Over the last week, I've been accused of calling a fellow wrestler a racial slur. To read this allegation has been personally upsetting. To be clear, I absolutely did not use that word. That word is not in my vocabulary. That word is not in my heart. Racism is not in my heart. Yet I know many people have to deal with racism in a way I never have to. Racism is an awful part of American history, and it is equally awful that it's still part of our society today. While I did not do what was claimed, I stand ready to use my platform to support the fight against racism however I can. So it's a direct statement from Tessa Blanchard.
That's not a good statement. It doesn't say anything.
It's a non-apology.
The headline's there. Racism's bad. I was like, well, you don't need to tell me that. Like, I think that's quite clear. And also, I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So
this is the don't get yourself videotaped. You never know when the cameras are.
It's down to her word against. It's two people's words against each other.
That's exactly,
But it seems like there are a lot of people's words against Tessa's.
Yeah.
Even about that specific incident with the M-word usage.
And I am all for a Twitter conspiracy. I've got my own conspiracy theories about the Dave Meltzer Saudi Arabia thing and the Seth Rollins rah-rah speech, which we've gone into on this show before. But I saw a lot of people say this was a targeted, planned attack on Tessa to discredit the Impact World Championship match and her winning the World Championship on the following Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's the case at all. I think that Tessa made that comment. One person, I think it was Alison Kay was the first person to dive in there and say, here's what you did. And that encouraged a lot of other people to say, and here is my story. Had Tessa not put up that initial tweet, this story wouldn't have come out. So I don't think it was a targeted attack to discredit Impact.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what have they got to gain there? It's Impact, unfortunately, aren't that newsworthy at the moment.
No.
So yeah, I don't think that's a conspiracy.
No, so that is the latest on the Tessa Blanchard situation. A lot of people have also been slightly making fun of it. Mia Yim posted up on Twitter a photo of her hugging Deonna Purrazzo, the virtuoso, saying, "We support each other around here." And Deonna Purrazzo retweeted it saying, "Cool things happen." Apparently that's been a bit of a sort of a gimmick around the wrestling scene. There's people saying like, yeah, cool things happen.
I love stuff like that. I love the idea of that being an in-joke backstage amongst all the roster.
Exactly, it's become a meme.
It's creative.
It's creative.
Creative! Don't worry, I'm working on a creative has nothing for you t-shirt.
That's amazing. Creative. Head over to WrestleTalk clips.
Oh yeah.
To find out more about creative.
Yeah, if you're watching this show 35 minutes in, I assume you are one of our more passionate fans. So, and I know there's probably like 10,000 of you right now going by the analytics. But weirdly, WrestleTalk Clips, this fan channel set up by Vinny, who's the editor who does Wrestle Sketch with me and everything, he's taking little clips and putting it on there, and it'll be stuff like creative or what does the SWAF Nation, where did that come from, all that stuff. So go over there and subscribe to it.
It's just really fun stuff. Yeah. It is a really fun little passion project that he's doing at the moment, and we're supportive of fan passion projects.
Support WrestleTalk. Support Vinny and WrestleTalk Clips. Go over there, subscribe, watch some videos. So my story of the week is one I covered in Wednesday's news. And that is that the next Saudi show is going to be either on the 20th of February or the 27th of February. Yeah. It's going to be within that week. It's going to be on a Thursday again. And it's just...
So we're getting another NXT invasion on SmackDown.
Right, yeah, getting back to the show in time. So it seems like this has been the plan for a while because there was a weird gap in February.
Yeah.
You've got Royal Rumble, end of January, and then you've got Elimination Chamber, 8th of March or whatever it is, and then WrestleMania is first week of April.
You carry on. I'm going to bring up the schedule now because I think I'm pretty sure Elimination Chamber is still in February, but there's nothing in March. Is it really?
I literally wrote the script on this. So we're missing Fastlane there.
What's the most important show of the year?
The biggest show of the year that we actually had some loose plans to do another storyline around. We can't make that joke anymore.
Yep.
So no Fastlane. So February was this like nothing month.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we've got NXT TakeOver Portland in February and then Elimination Chamber on March 8th. So
that's not to say it's not busy. We've got Revolution, of course, AEW on the February 29th.
Oh, we'll still be busy.
But
WWE are not busy.
So Yeah, it seems like they were keeping that free for the next Saudi show. The problem is, putting a Saudi show in February, in between the Rumble and Elimination Chamber, then WrestleMania, the Saudis want a WrestleMania caliber show. That means you've got to put on such big matches to give them value for money. They're paying $40 million a show, reportedly.
That's huge. It's way bigger than any WrestleMania in history.
And you run the risk of undermining WrestleMania. And we've never been in this position because historically, Greatest Royal Rumble, Super Showdown has come in June, June time after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So this is, and apparently this is down to the Saudis. The Saudis wanted the show then. That's when they're going to get the show.
I'll tell you, I mean, they dictate the rules here. Like, this is not, like, WWE are not putting this into a schedule and being like, here is our plan for the year. The Saudis say, we want it now. And they was like, okay, right, well, I guess we've got to do it there. So you're right, we're going to be in this position where they're going to be promoting, they're going to be putting plans in place for WrestleMania. And, that's a week out from Elimination Chamber, which is a big show to build up WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then you got this third show. And we've seen historically with WWE that the shows sort of fall apart when there's too much to promote because they don't really know which plates they want to be keeping the closest eye on. And that's when they start to fall apart a little bit at the seams.
Yeah, totally. And that's like, we've said so much about the ethical concerns of doing these shows. This is more about the creative around it. I just can't see how they're going to be able to put on matches. So one of the it's doing the rounds. It could easily be a fake, but the Fiend versus Kane is apparently being advertised on Saudi Arabian TV.
And you know what? Actually, that's not the worst thing in the world because that's not a WrestleMania caliber match, but it is for the sort of Saudi Arabian audience that really likes their sort of 90s, early 2000s wrestling. That's probably perfect, really, because that's a big name. The Fiend can easily go out there and just very quickly beat him.
My concern is that WWE don't actually know what they're doing. There's been a lot of reports in December and January from very reliable people like Meltzer and WrestleVotes saying they've never experienced a year where so few WrestleMania plans have been in place at this point, in January. And you look at TV, and I agree, I don't really know. You've got Roman Fiend, but that's kind of more just me educatedly guessing. There's not a great deal on TV to tease that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you one WrestleMania match, really, that WWE have explicitly started teasing on television.
The only one I can think of is AJ Randy. And whether that does...
I think that's going to pay off sooner.
But that's what I was thinking. 'Cause when they did that angle when Randy had the fake injury, I remember saying to Pete on the episode, I thought initially they were going to do it so they could artificially extend that story. Essentially write Randy off TV with this fake injury for, a month or so, have him return, and then build up that WrestleMania program.
Yeah.
But keep AJ still mentioning Orton and saying that he was the one that put Orton on the shelf and demanding that they get this WrestleMania match. The only other one I can imagine, because he's announced himself for the Rumble, is Brock Cain Velasquez.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, maybe, but maybe that's in Saudi again. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Even it could be in Saudi again.
So it's an interesting time for WWE. I think this could hurt WrestleMania. This could hurt the interest level. And if they do it on the 27th, Revolution's on the Saturday. To have such like a potentially a bad show creatively, and of course all the problems that come with it. Considering the last time, it wasn't just. It's like every time we do a Saudi show, it's another layer of controversy.
Yeah.
No women, no people of Syrian descent. Oh, they murdered a journalist the month before you've got to go out there. Oh, what happened with those mechanical plane issues? It's just been awful. But they got a lot of money for it.
I was going to say, it's not awful for their bank balance. Their bank balance is very, very healthy because of it.
So before we get into the Patreon mailbag, of course, go over to WrestleTalk's Patreon to become a pledge hammer. Some exciting Wrestle League developments potentially on the way.
Ooh.
A year into Wrestle League, which started, for Patreons with last year's Royal Rumble.
For Season 0.
Season 0. When it wasn't just us guys doing it. We might... I can't believe I'm even saying this out loud because it could all fall apart.
Do you want to not say it out loud?
No, I'm going to say it out loud. We might actually have a really good portal where you can log into the website with your Patreon login and you can choose the things, and it's not just a Google form anymore.
Yeah.
It's you can actually go back in and edit, and it'll be really good.
And we're going to move it to because of this, a monthly schedule instead. So
Yeah.
it won't be seasons. We won't have season 1 to 5 like we've had currently. We'll do it as monthly things again, which kind of we're hoping will keep people involved and engaged in it.
Because it's if you miss, hard to kill Impact,
Which a few people did.
yeah, or like a random New Japan show that we decided to include in there. That could be 10 points that you're now behind.
Yeah.
Which really, really does affect you if these seasons are 3-4 months long. So we're hoping if we make it monthly, it could be more fair. And maybe we'll have like a grand overarching one for the year.
Yeah, maybe.
And then maybe we can beat Laurie. That's actually what this is all down to. Anyway, so go over there. But our match of the week, Luke.
Yes,
we haven't decided one. I know what mine is.
Okay, what's yours?
AEW opening 4-way tag.
I was gonna say the same match
What
as well.
a match.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a terrifically fun match, a proper like PWG style 4-way tag match that was leveled up with its brilliant level of storytelling and progression of what is, for my money, the best thing going in AEW at the moment. I thought it was smashing. I thought it was terrific.
So if you want to watch one match over the last 7 days, make it that one. Really worth it.
Yeah. Right, so shall we dive into the Patreon
Yes,
mailbag?
please.
If you want to submit a question to the mailbag, all you got to do is become one of our Patreon pledge hammers at any dollar amount and leave a comment in the community section labelled mailbag. Don't email it to me. I will lose it. I'm bad at my job. Our first one comes in from Chuck Turner, who says, "Good morning, bros. My question is, besides Terry Funk and Mark Henry, are there any other former ECW heavyweight champions in the WWE Hall of Fame? Have a lovely time with the boys. Also, with the 4 Horsemen in the WWE Hall of Fame, does that technically mean Chris Benoit is in the Hall of Fame too?" No, because that would mean that every member of the NWO would be in the Hall of Fame. And they had, I think, roughly 2,000 members. So Terry Funk and Mark Henry. I don't know if there are any others. I'll see if I can...
Yeah, they do seem to induct specific lineups for factions.
Oh, yeah.
So when the 4 Horsemen went in, it was a specific lineup, not the entire history of that faction.
So let's go. I mean, Raven's not in there because it's very sad. I'll go from the Extreme Championship Wrestling era, so we won't include Jimmy Snuka because I think he is in the Hall of Fame. Taz is not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
No.
Tommy Dreamer's not credible. It's not Carino. It's not Sandman. Isn't Rhino?
A lot of Hall of Famers there, though. Like, that's not to say they won't go in eventually.
Yep.
yeah,
Chavo
as it
Guerrero's
stands-
not been. Kane's not been. Ezekiel Jackson, I don't think, has been added into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, people are pushing for it every year, but he keeps on getting missed off.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
There we go.
Bam Bam was one of them.
Good
Okay.
pick.
Good.
Good question as well. I like that trivia fact.
Austin Tussey, hey guys, my question is, if you could go back in time and save someone who had potential and wasn't properly used, who would you choose? With so many botched NXT call-ups and forgotten pushes, there are so many options. My choice would be Finn Balor. I would make him come back from injury and go straight for his title instead of getting lost in the lower mid-card.
What a good question.
It is really good.
I mean, I bet there's so many. Just the one that jumped to my head immediately is The Fiend at Hell in a Cell. I think it's one of the worst decisions in wrestling history. But to give a not so obvious answer, Seth Rollins, when he came back after his Authority run off the injury, he should have come back as a white hot babyface.
I'm going to say, I'm going to go with Dean Ambrose. And when WWE were in that really struggling period when they were strapping the Rocket to Roman against everyone's better options, Dean was the guy they should have been going with because Dean was really, really hot at that time.
Yeah.
But they just constantly ignored that fact. If you'd have strapped the Rocket to Dean instead of Roman, the wrestling world would be a very different place right now.
Also, Ishii.
Yeah, and always
Not that
Ishii.
they've ruined him. I just think, like, why isn't he the top in the top 5, like 4?
Jesse Anderson's, this is an NXT question. He did ask for it to be on the NXT show, but obviously we do the mailbag here. I believe Robert Stone is a parody of Roger Stone. So this stems from, Robert Stone, which is Robbie E's new gimmick in NXT, is all based around statistics. And there are some people who speculated that it's a parody of Tony Khan. And someone questioned Meltzer about this, and he said, initially I didn't think so, but I have heard from some people that it is.
Wow, right.
But he writes here, Roger Stone is an American businessman and political consultant. He is an infamous American figure who has groomed several elites, including Donald Trump. Roger Stone is Donald Trump's Paul Heyman.
That's a very good description of him, yeah.
Stone has recently been convicted of several crimes related to the campaign trail, making him a topical target for parody. Robert even dresses like Roger does, but an outdated and perhaps washed-up version.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Roger Stone has a very distinct. If you're going to do a Roger Stone parody, it will be very noticeable because the guy is so distinctive. Like he's quite well built. He wears white suits. He looks kind of like a muscly Colonel Sanders. You ever seen his back?
No.
He has a back-sized tattoo of Richard Nixon's face.
Hell.
There's a very good documentary on Netflix. Who is Roger Stone? I think it's called. He's a fascinating figure and a very morally bankrupt one.
Barking Mad says, hypothetically, if CM Punk does make an in-ring return, who would you fancy book his first feud against and why? Man. Seth freaking Rollins would be my pick.
Yeah, it would have to be. But you know what? I think if right now, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then you set up that main event that Punk always wanted at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Punk Brock. That's huge. Like if you're looking in a Vince McMahon eye, what is the biggest match I could possibly put on, which usually outweighs any kind of story considerations? Punk versus Lesnar's the one.
There you go. Flev Doran, hello to everyone at WrestleTalk. I have a question, but I first want to say that on the day of the Rumble, January 26th, marks 1 year since I became
Happy
a Pledge
birthday.
Hammer. And it's been a lot of fun, especially that it was a very bleak year for me. You guys made it much easier from participating and co-winning the first season of Wrestle League to meeting you guys at Royal Quest. I just want to say thank you for all the work you are making. On to my question. I think it's fair to say that most wrestling fans became fans when they were kids/teenagers because it was the larger-than-life factor that appealed to that demo. Now that factor seems to have been lost, and now neither teens or adults find wrestling interesting. What do you think it will take for mainstream people to get into wrestling nowadays? I was thinking if a major film studio were to produce a tasteful movie about the joys of pro wrestling, unlike The Wrestler, it would get some people interested in what actually makes pro wrestling such a great experience, much like the Bohemian Rhapsody film did for my newfound love of Queen. Apologies for the long chapter, and thank you once again.
Well, they did that with Fighting With My Family. I think Fighting With My Family is of the same tonal vein as Rocket Man or Bohemian Rhapsody. It's quite like a sweet and neutral, basic biopic.
I got a message from someone actually, one of the lads from Games on Film podcast, DM'd me saying like, I just saw Fighting With My Family, and it actually did make me want to check out some wrestling. It was really fun, and I took him back being like, yeah, I could not get over the historical inaccuracies of the movie. They kept really winding me up.
But that was released. It has, if anything, viewership's down. So that hasn't worked. The thing that's going to change it is someone gets really hot, and it's always been the way in wrestling. It's just you can't really make it happen.
Yeah.
Someone's just got to catch fire, like The Rock, like Stone Cold. Like even John Cena wasn't at that level. No. He was just the top guy.
And that's it. It's not a case of getting hot in the wrestling world. It's getting hot in the mainstream media world. Yeah. Stone Cold, The Rock were on the front cover of magazines that aren't wrestling magazines, the same way Hogan was with the Rock and Wrestling era.
Exactly.
So it's got to be someone who gets so white hot that mainstream media can't ignore them, and they had to get them onto TV shows and get them onto magazines and stuff. That's what it's going to need.
And it's so rare.
Yeah.
The last time it even came close to happening was Summer of Punk in WWE.
Yeah.
And that was a decade ago.
Ket asks, what's up, WrestleTalk? In my opinion, Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at both Manias weren't that good. That is a controversial opinion. They were good stories, but the matches aren't anything special. Oof. Is there any match that gets up? Is there any match? I'm surprised you put your name to that. Is there any match that gets a lot of praise but you think is average?
The only one that jumps to mind at the moment, and is Savage Steamboat at WrestleMania, because but it's of its time. Like at the time, it's amazing. But when I first watched that back, I don't know, 2008. For the first time, it was very dated and had a lot of interference. And George the Animal Steel is just, I don't like that character or gimmick. And the near fall has been done to death since. So yeah, but I totally recognise the historical importance of that match to first introduce a lot of those tropes.
Yeah.
But, I go back and watch Citizen Kane. I think it's amazing. Mm-hmm. I still think it holds up.
It's a Wonderful Life is one of the best movies ever made.
Exactly.
It came out, 80 odd years ago.
So it has. I think if something's truly, truly brilliant, it dates very well. And I don't think Savage Steamboat did.
I'm going to say a Shawn Michaels match, but I'm going to go with the Bret Hart's Iron Man WrestleMania main event. I think that match is so boring. It was an hour, a 70-minute match or whatever it was, because they went over the time limit, but it feels like they only planned out 5 minutes worth of stuff, but then stretched those 5 minutes out over an hour.
Well, that's the longest they'll probably be willing to talk to each other.
Dylan Tyrrell Reeves says, "What's the crack, lads?
Crack.
I'm sending this not too long after leaving the arena from NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool with my lady partner. Thanks again to Ashleen for surprising me with tickets for our 1-year anniversary."
What a girlfriend.
And this is something I've seen a lot. The show was so good, it made me slightly guilty for not watching the weekly TV show. My question for you guys is, as great as the TakeOver events are, how long can you see NXT UK lasting for? I think with weekly show going to BT Sport in the UK Islands, they'll get a few more eyes on the product, but I can see WWE eventually getting bored of it. I think they already are bored of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, NXT UK seems to have been a very cynical move by WWE to control the UK, the once very hot UK independent wrestling scene. And a lot of companies have gone under because of it.
Oh, no, but those were just the companies that didn't pay their talent properly or didn't have a paramedic or had unsafe rings.
I can't even get into this. It makes me too angry.
He said that on an actual podcast. And the worst thing about it is, I think he believes it.
Well, he has to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will stay at the same level. I don't think it will go away though.
No, because they've got such a control now.
It's a strategic thing.
Yeah.
It's not there to make money. It's there to stifle a lot of other companies.
And on that subject, O to the B says, "Hi guys, I don't like to grumble, but I'm good at it, so I'm going to. I took umbrage with Luke's mecha news regarding the NXT UK TakeOver review. He mentioned the 5-star matches and another great show from NXT UK, but also said, like a lot of NXT UK matches, it's a tree falling in the woods with no one around to hear it. I realise NXT UK is second-tier niche. I think it's probably lower than that. But it was based in your country at your time, featuring some of the best wrestlers that the UK has to offer, and you didn't do a live watch long, no 30-minute review the following day, and it was the last item on the news. I realise that your channel is driven by numbers and has slightly less resources than WWE.
Slightly less.
But I do feel that you could help highlight the excellent wrestling on the show by occasionally shouting timber when the tree falls. Luke also said, it's a shame that WWE doesn't care about the brand enough to actually push it. Again, I realise the nicheness, but they have had some exposure during weekly NXT Worlds Collide TakeOver Survivor Series, and it's been enough exposure to get pops when they go on to make full NXT debuts. So let's finish with the question. How would you push NXT UK differently? I wouldn't say they were pushed on Raw and Survivor Series. Like, Walter was the first lad out in mere seconds, really, in that match. And the NXT UK guys were made to look like absolute jobbers when they were on Raw.
Yeah. And I think if you're a casual viewer, which is the sort of viewer you want to be reaching with that message, they're probably not going to know the difference between NXT and NXT UK.
Yeah.
They probably think it's the same show and that's a little faction in there. Actually, us putting it in the news is the loudest timber we could have given it.
Yeah.
Because, as you can see on other channels, the people who did do stuff for NXT UK Blackpool, they got like 7,000, 8,000 views. So us putting it in the news episode, which gets 80,000, it's going to reach a lot more people.
Yeah, and it was a situation where I was sort of damned if I do, damned if I didn't. If I did cover it, then I was going to get this, like, you didn't give enough coverage. And if I didn't cover it, then I would have been, well, you didn't cover it at all.
Yeah.
And it was a shame because, Bate Devlin was an absolute all-time classic. It's going to be in a match of the year contender. But 2 days after that event, 1 day after that event, no one's asking us, are you going to review the weekly show this week? No one's talking about that weekly show that happens. It's an unfortunate, as I said in the review, I think it's a shame that WWE do not care enough to actually push the brand properly.
How would you push NXT UK differently, though? I don't know. I don't have the answer because WWE have too many brands.
Yeah.
They can barely push Raw, SmackDown, and NXT effectively, and pay-per-views and everything else.
We saw the NXT UK guys on Wednesday.
They were brilliant.
Because we went to the BT Sports house party, and the main event was Gallus versus Mustache Mountain at Nelia Dragunov. When Ilya Dragunov made his entrance, my first thought was like, why are you not on the main roster? And when Mustache Mountain came out and you see the way that they wrestle, you're like, why are you not on the main roster? Why are you not on weekly television? And that's why that's what winds me up the most about NXT UK is they've got this incredible roster of talent that are just, I feel like being stifled. I don't think they're getting they're not getting the level that they should be. Yeah. Tom Dell says, hey guys, I had some kind of an idea for a spot.
Some kind of idea?
Some kind of idea. Similar in a way to Tony catching the referee's hand, which was at TakeOver Blackpool. So the spot goes, someone is in a submission, they're dead to rights, about to tap out, no one can break it up in time or take out the ref. So instead, we have a blanket, jacket, shirt, whatever, thrown over the taping hand. The ref can't see it.
Hand.
What did I say? Taping hand. Sorry, tapping hand. The ref can't see it, so can't make a call, and the person applying the submission releases the hold. I don't know why. I guess they assume the ref saw the tap. Hopefully, it hasn't been done yet, or I'm some kind of genius. Not likely. What do you lads think of my idea, or just feel free to ignore this giant mess of a question? Much love from New Zealand.
Swaffed under. The New Zealand and Australia count as swaffed under, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah. We're putting them together.
I mean, they are the same country, right?
Yeah. I don't know how it could work effectively. You'd hear the noise. The referee should be totally looking at the hand. I don't think a sort of towel is enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry, buddy.
Chris Thorne says, why was everyone so perplexed when Braun brought out a grappling hook? They said it had no place in wrestling, but it's a grappling hook. Seriously, though, that spot saved me from stopping watching wrestling again just 2 months after returning. Other than CM Punk, what's kept you guys watching wrestling in a period like that?
The relationship between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
In the very dark days of Raw.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what mine would be. Actually, I'll tell you what it was. It was TNA. When I thought WWE in 2005, 6, 7 was it was an awful, awful product to watch. But TNA kept me interested in wrestling. And that really it massively improved my fandom.
Yeah.
And made me want to watch more wrestling. I think TNA is my answer. Flaming Live says, my birthday was on Tuesday, the big 35.
Happy birthday.
So old. I'll be with the 35 club by the end of this year. I've been thinking a lot about the wrestling landscape, and I've started to wonder, should there be a pro wrestling Olympics-like event where a non-biased group would host the month-long event? It would be like every major company, WWE, AEW, AAA, New Japan, Impact, etc., and all the matches would be shoot matches, so storytelling wouldn't be the main focus, just straight-out fighting wrestling. There would be a round-robin tournaments like the Cruiserweights, Super Juniors, Hardcore, etc. The winner with the most points takes home the gold medal, title, whatever. Would you, 1, like to see this, 2, think it would be a good event, or 3, like to see how it would turn out?
No, that's a bad idea. It's essentially brawl for all, what you're saying. And then you're putting these performers who, aren't professional fighters. They're like a combination of athlete, circus artists. Yeah. So you'll get in a position where potentially someone who's pushed as the kayfabe toughest person will be knocked out by Sin Cara.
Yeah.
So that's a very bad thing. But that's not to say there isn't a way to do it. You treat it like a choreographed sporting event. There's loads of those. Gymnastics, synchronized swimming. You do it like that. Ice skate, figure skating. You have pro wrestlers come in, work out a match together, they do the match, and it'd sort of be based on skill and technique, just like the gymnastics are, and you'd have scorers. That would be awesome, I think.
Tattoo Cooperman says, went to Melbourne City Wrestling on Saturday. Will Ospreay was in the main event. He made it look like he wasn't injured, but when we spoke to him after the show, one way or another, he said he was.
Amazing.
Such a star, even with a busted heel, still put on a top match. Much love. Will, if you're watching, mate, just rest.
Take some time
Take some time off, mate. David McKibben says, I think I'm in the minority here, but I liked John Morrison's return, including pre-announcing it. This is assuming the plan was always to have him come in as a heel. If so, I think heels should never be a surprise return, really to only save that for a face return. I like that by the time we got to TV, people already knew he was coming back. He was aligned with the Miz who was turning. I think a run in to save Miz would have dampened the heel turn.
You're totally right. I actually totally agree with that.
Yeah.
You would have got a pop.
I think it was Pete really didn't like the pre-announcing it and then sort of just having him backstage with it. I actually think that's not the worst thing in the world. My issue I had with it was Corey Graves saying, we've heard rumblings that he'd re-signed. I was like, mate, your own show said he had signed.
And also that they did loads of returns on that episode. It was like the Usos as well.
Sheamus.
You should have saved that at least save some of them for the Rumble.
Yeah. Jonathan, the Headmaster Headman, what do you think of the new Morbius trailer? Have you seen it yet?
I haven't, no.
Hey, we watched it. It was on Monday because you had the day off, didn't you? So it's... me and Laurie both called it a template trailer. Like, it is, like, there is... Yeah, there is a Premiere profile that every studio uses that is called first trailer template .proj. And they just drag it into the timeline and they just... it basically auto cuts shots from the film into this trailer format, and that's exactly what it was. It was broadly fine. I thought the final reveal was the best thing about it. Lee Spicer, hey guys, hope you're well. According to the leak of the WrestleMania 36 card, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan are penciled in to face The Fiend for the Universal title. If this is true, do you think it'd be the perfect way to take the belt off The Fiend while also keeping him strong? I think the reason why this didn't get reported is because on this supposed match card, Florida was spelt wrong. So I don't think anyone took it seriously. But to your point, having it as a three-way isn't the worst idea in the world.
Yeah.
Gets Daniel Bryan in the main event as well. Matt Field, hi Luke, Ollie, and the WrestleTalk boys. What are your top 5 entrance theme songs of all time? Mine are Cult of Personality, Kingdom, which is Cody's one, Voices, Randy Orton's one, The Game, Triple H's, and Metalingus, which was Edge's. Keep up the hard work.
We can't do a top 5, too much thought, but Mick Foley's. There's a special place in my heart. Like that was my Creator Wrestler entrance music.
Yeah. The Hardy Boys. That used to get me so pumped up. I don't know.
We need to go quickly if we want to do all these Patreon questions.
Okay, we'll give some thought on that. James J. Dillon, I would very much like to purchase the blue Fakador shirt from your site, but blue is not an option. Will it be available soon, or am I out of luck?
What's the blue one?
I think it's black. The T-shirt.
Yeah. I don't know if black or white designs.
Yeah. I think it might just look like it's blue, but it's very much it's a black T-shirt.
Oh yeah. So get that one.
Yeah, get this one. Ked also asked, what's up, WrestleTalk? Do you think that WWE signing every wrestler in sight will come back to bite them, or has it already happened? Also, what's the nastiest chair shot you've ever heard? Chair shot is the Balls Mahoney one.
Yeah. Oh no, the Stevie Richards JBL one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. On SmackDown.
It's disgusting.
I always go for that Balls Mahoney one where he just hit him as hard. I can never remember the lad's name, unfortunately. He hit him as hard as he could. Made this ginormous dent in the chair that even he thought was too much. And he looks at the camera and goes, "Oh my god." Yeah. So, do we think that signing every wrestler will come back to bite them? I think it's problematic because we're talking about NXT UK. Someone like a Jordan Devlin, who now is, I think, very mistakenly being slotted into the cruiserweights. What a complete waste of Jordan Devlin. They're going to put Tyler Bate in that situation. What a complete waste of Tyler Bate. Abril Zafri, how much faith do you guys have in the latest push for Drew?
Quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
He's connecting with the crowd. He's performing it well. And Paul Heyman obviously really likes him. So he's one of those guys who's going to get pushed.
Aaron Donnelly, do you think The Fiend will come out at the Royal Rumble holding a long-haired Daniel Bryan lantern?
No, because he hasn't properly beaten him yet. I don't think so.
Drew Porter said, hello lads, and most importantly, SoCal Val. Just writing to say, I used to do wrestling a couple of years ago and was thinking about going back as it's a good hobby and good fun. As I'm from Glasgow, I had the opportunity of meeting the man with the sexy body, Drew McIntyre. He was really down to earth and helped me a lot at the time of my wrestling. It was also around the time he just joined TNA, so he is the reason I loved TNA. It's actually in Impact Wrestling now. But AEW is too good. So my question is, how can Impact become as big as AEW again? Also, if you met any wrestlers that made you find your love back for wrestling? Yours sincerely, Drew Porter, aka the new Scottish Psychopath.
Wow, I just think there's only so much appetite for wrestling, and Impact would need to. Impact are good. They're really good at the moment.
Hard to Kill. I think the second half of Hard to Kill was really, really good.
But there's only so much appetite out there for weekly wrestling content, and AEW have taken it. So I don't know. I don't know.
The Zorni says, hi, you beautiful people. Do you think there will be a timetable or something like that of your current videos? Do you think there will ever be a timetable or something like that for your recurrent videos? So one eager to watch knows when to tune in for your live reviews. So please do not recommend the never working feature on YouTube called notifications. Thank you for your great content. Actually, we also had Jeffrey said, what's the WrestleTalk schedule? Just testing my knowledge. Raw reviews on a Tuesday, AEW and NXT on Thursday, weekend shows on a Friday, SmackDowns on a Saturday. My rationale is from a mental health point of view, it's good to have anchors from across the whole year to a week to day, so it might benefit people to know. I'm almost certain you've mentioned it in a video before, but I figured to get a reminder of the schedule would be a good thing. Keep up the good S word. It's from Jeffrey.
That's crazy. We were talking about this yesterday because there is a schedule, but I don't think we've communicated that well enough. It's 3 p.m. GMT every day for the live reviews. AEW's at 2 p.m.
Yep.
Because NXT has to fit in there as well. The news just goes out as soon as it's ready.
We used to have it as a schedule thing. We always used to put it as 5 p.m. GMT because that would be a way to get the most American viewers. But the problem is when we did that, what the main bit of feedback we got was, I've already seen this news elsewhere because everyone else was just loading it as soon as it was done. So the schedule thing sort of like come back to get bittered a little bit.
We'll get back to you because we're working on it, and I think we'll put like a nice schedule on the channel header as well.
Yeah. That guy who wants to support, I have a very important question. Since ancient times, everyone has had one question in their mind, a question so complicated and philosophical that no one has had the guts to ask until now. Luke, Ollie, I bestow upon you the responsibility to answer the question that no one can. Who can eliminate the Big Show at the Royal Rumble?
Literally anybody. They do it every year. Hey, but he's so big. Oh, you missed Jobber JJ, I'll just do it. Hello, Swaff Nation and WrestleTalk crew. I have a serious question. You'll probably know more about this than me. How does WrestleTalk's very own Jobber become an actual Jobber? How do I get involved with wrestling? Have yourselves a super day.
I did, because I would jump to Jeffrey's question. Sorry about that.
So go to a wrestling school.
Yeah. That's the simple answer.
Yeah, and if you keep on turning up and then like you volunteer yourself for shows where you just help put up the ring, just being a general person, a handyman, they'll be like, okay, you're doing really well with this. We'll put you in a 20-man battle royal.
Yeah.
And then you just keep proving yourself over time, keep going to wrestling training. Yeah.
We had an email in from the leader of the New World Discorder, Ewan, who was, been doing wrestling training for the last year, and he's getting his debut with Rev Pro in their Rumble. So, but I would say, don't go in with this sort of character in mind that you want to do. Like that's the last thing that you should do. You should just go in there to learn how to wrestle, as opposed to go in there as like, teach me how to be a jobber so I can be one.
Yeah.
Callum, with all this speculation with CM Punk eventually getting back into the ring, do you think Vince & Co. will give Punk an offer he cannot refuse? Maybe that Mania main event against Brock could get him interested.
I think it will happen. I don't think it will be this year. So, yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for all your questions and for joining us here on this Friday show. Click the little Patreon button that's appeared here so you can get your questions in, and also for the new Wrestle League that starts at Royal Rumble next Sunday. I've been Ollie Davis, this has been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.